Hi, welcome to Anime Movies Recap. Today I will tell you an anime story from 2016, entitled Ko no Katachi. The story begins with a high school student named Shoya who initially plans to jump into a river after giving his mother the money he earned from selling his belongings and a part-time job. However, he changes his mind when he sees someone setting off fireworks there. The story then goes back to when Shoya was in elementary school. He was a mischievous and lively child. Shimada and Hirose were his friends who always played with him wherever Shoya went. One day, a transfer student named Shuko who is deaf to join their class. She asked students to communicate with her through her notebook. Students began to surround her to befriend her. However, because Shuko always bothered others and disrupted choir practice, she was gradually avoided by her classmates and Shoya began to bully her by imitating her unclear speech and throwing sand at her. One day, a teacher began to add a new subject, sign language, so that the others could easily communicate with Shuko. However, Ueno, one of Shoya's classmates who felt troubled by having to add a new subject for Shuko's sake, began to question isn't communicating through writing enough? But Sahara happily told the teacher that she did not mind learning sign language. Hearing this, Ueno got angry and began to bully Sahara, making her transfer schools. After Sahara transferred, Shoya bullied Shuko more severely by writing insults on the blackboard, yelling in her ear, throwing away her hearing aid, and pouring water on her. One day, Shoya forcibly removed Shuko's hearing aid, causing her ear to bleed. On the way home, Shuko meets Shoya to apologize, even though Shoya should be the one apologizing. This makes Shoya angry and he throws Shuko's notebook into a fish pond. The next day, Shuko is absent and the school hears that her hearing aids are often lost and damaged, which are very expensive. The teacher and students all accuse Shoya of being the only one who bullied her, without anyone defending him or admitting that the bullying was done together. Even his friend Shimada also accuses him. Shoya starts telling the teacher that all the children were involved in bullying Shuko, but the teacher does not believe him. Shimada and Hirose begin to bully Shoya because he made himself an enemy of all the students in the class by accusing everyone of being involved in bullying Shuko. At the fish pond, Shoya finds Shuko's notebook that he had previously thrown away and brings it home. When he arrives home, Shoya's mother hears about the bullying that Shoya did to Shuko at the school and she is very disappointed with Shoya's actions. Shoya's mother then asks Shoya to immediately prepare and meet Shuko's parents to apologize. When meeting Shuko's parents, Shoya sees his mother giving Shuko's parent money to compensate for the loss of Shuko's hearing aid that he had thrown away. Then, Shuko's parents and Shoya's mother have a private conversation. After the conversation is over, Shoya's mother comes back with her ears covered in blood. This makes Shoya sad. The next day, Shoya becomes the target of bullying by his friends, by having his shoes thrown away, being hit by a ball, and getting water thrown on him, just like he did to Shuko. Then, Shoya sees Shuko cleaning his desk which has a written insult about him. Shoya, who doesn't understand why Shuko is always nice to him, starts to get angry and pushes her, resulting in a fight between them. A few days later, Shuko also transfers schools. Back in the present, when Shoya enters the sign language class, he accidentally meets Shuko again, but she runs away from him. Shoya then chases her and gives her back the notebook he had thrown into the river during their elementary school days, and asks Shuko to be friends using sign language. This surprises Shuko because Shoya can use sign language and Shuko gives him a chance. The next morning, Shoya's mother realizes that he was planning to commit suicide, as she noticed the clean room, the turned-off phone, the strange calendar schedule, and the money he had given her as if he was trying to make amends for his past actions. Shoya's mother threatens him that if he still wants to commit suicide, she will burn the money. Shoya then changes his mind about suicide, but the money accidentally gets burned. During middle school, Shimada tells his friends not to be friends with Shoya because he is a bully. Shoya still tries to be friends with Shimada by giving him a CD, but Shimada doesn't acknowledge his efforts and rejects it. This makes Shoya realize that he has to accept the punishment for his past actions and isolates himself from everyone by imagining an X mark on everyone's face. The next day, Shoya sees one of his classmates having trouble because their bike was borrowed by someone and Shoya helps him by lending his bike. However, the borrowed bike is not returned. Shoya then goes to see Shuko on foot. When he wants to see Shuko, Yuzuru, Shuko's younger sister, chases Shoya away by saying that Shuko is not in the class, even though she is sitting in the class. Because he was rejected, Shoya goes home. On the way back, Shoya meets his classmate Nagatsuka, who he helped before. Nagatsuka found Shoya's bike lying in a rice paddy and returns it to him. This makes Shoya open up to Nagatsuka and let go of the X mark on his face. They start playing and being friends. Shoya, who wants to see Shuko again, is chased away by Yuzuru once more. This time, Yuzuru admits to being Shuko's boyfriend so that Shoya will stop visiting her. But Nagatsuka, who had been secretly following Shoya, becomes angry and gets Shuko's attention. Eventually, Shoya and Shuko meet and talk about the meaning of friendship. Shuko expresses her gratitude for the notebook that Shoya returned. When Shuko wants to see the contents of the notebook, Shoya tries to prevent her from doing so, because the notebook contains many insults that would hurt her feelings. Accidentally, the book falls into the river and Shuko jumps in to retrieve it. Shoya also jumps in to help Shuko. The next day, Shoya is expelled from school because he is considered responsible for a fake post made by Yuzuru. While he is expelled, Shoya's older sister asks him to pick up his daughter from school. At the playground, Shoya meets Yuzuru, who is running away from home because of a fight with Shuko. Yuzuru admits that she made the post. This makes Shoya relieved because Yuzuru is Shuko's boyfriend and he considers what Yuzuru did as fair and reasonable. Due to everything he did in the past, he feels that he deserves the consequences of his actions. Then Shoya invites Yuzuru for dinner and for her to stay at his home. In the middle of the night, Yuzuru leaves the house and walks around in the rain and Shoya follows her. Yuzuru asks Shoya why he always acts kindly towards Shuko and the people closest to her. Is this all to atone for his sins and live as a good person? Shoya admits that it is and feels like he is trash and will do anything to make Shuko not sad again. As Shoya is about to take Yuzuru home, Yuzuru reveals that she is Shuko's younger sister. Suddenly Shuko's mother appears and immediately slaps Shoya and tells Yuzuru and Shuko to never see him again. The next day, Shoya introduces Nagatsuka to Shuko and asks for her contact information so they can message each other. Shoya also asks if there's anyone else she wants to message and Shuko answers that Sahara is someone she wants to message. Shoya then asks Kawi where Sahara goes to school. After finding out where Sahara goes to school, Shoya and Shuko rush to the school. On the train, they chat through messages on their phones, and Shuko thanks Shoya for helping her find Sahara. Upon arriving at the station, they meet up with Sahara, who can now communicate using sign language, and apologizes for suddenly transferring schools. As they were talking, Shoya goes to the bathroom and meets Ueno, who is handing out discount coupons at the cafe where she works. The next day, Shoya and Nagatsuka visited the cafe where Ueno worked to meet her, but since Shoya was unaware of Ueno's presence, they eventually left. When they returned home, Shoya asked Yuzuru to give Shuko a souvenir from Ueno's cafe. The next day, Shoya met with Ueno and they talked about the events from when they were in elementary school. Then, they saw Shuko shopping. Ueno then ran to Shuko and took her hearing aid from her ear and gave it to Shoya to throw away, just like he did in elementary school. Shoya then returned the hearing aid to Shuko and apologized. Ueno then laughed at how a bully and the bullied could be friends, and Ueno then went home. The next day after school, Shoya meets with Shuko. Shuko changes her hairstyle to a ponytail to get Shoya's attention and tries to speak with Shoya directly without using sign language. However, Shoya doesn't understand everything Shuko says and says her voice sounds strange. This makes Shuko a little disappointed and makes Shoya panic and apologize. As Shoya was about to go buy bread, Shuko stops him and gives him a gift, and expresses her feelings to Shoya. Shuko says Suki, which means like, but Shoya misunderstands and thinks Shuko says Tsuki, which means moon, and Shoya replies yes, the moon is beautiful. In fact, in the Japanese language, the phrase means I love you. Hearing that, Shuko is embarrassed and runs away, leaving Shoya. When she arrives home, Shuko tells Yuzuru that she has expressed her feelings to Shoya, but Shoya doesn't realize it. The next day, Kawi told Shoya that his classmate Mishiba wanted to be friends with him. Shoya quickly removed the X mark from Kawi and Mishiba's faces and opened his heart to them. They gathered at their usual bridge to meet Shuko, but she wasn't there. Shoya asked Yuzuru if Shuko was mad at him for not understanding her the previous day. To fix Shuko's heart, Shoya invited everyone to go to the amusement park. However, Ueno unexpectedly appeared and shocked Shoya. While trying the rides, Shoya began to feel happy and experienced the atmosphere of friendship again. Ueno then invited Shoya to buy takoyaki. It turns out that Ueno's purpose was to make Shoya meet Shimada, which reminded Shoya of his trauma when he was bullied by Shimada. Shoya then closed his heart to Ueno. Ueno began to blame everything on Shuko, saying that her presence made all of their friendships fall apart. Ueno then invited Shuko to ride the Ferris wheel together. On the Ferris wheel, Ueno scolded Shuko and said that all of Shoya's friendships had fallen apart because of her. Hearing that, Shuko started to tremble and apologized. An annoyed Ueno then slapped Shuko and left her after the Ferris wheel stopped. The next day at school, Mishiba, who knew about Shuko's past being bullied, asked Shoya if the reason she was bullied in the past was that she was deaf. Mishiba hates bullying and couldn't forgive it. Hearing this, Shoya begins to panic and asks Kawi not to tell anyone about his past, bullying Shuko during elementary school. However, Kawi tells Mishiba loudly, so that all the classmates can hear, and start to feel sympathy towards Kawi. The same situation happens again, where everyone blames Shoya, and he starts to feel sick. Then Shoya goes to meet Shuko, Yuzuru, and Sahara at the bridge. A few moments later, Nagatsuka, Mishiba, Ueno, and Kawi arrive and they start discussing the issue of bullying towards Shuko. Everyone just defends themselves and makes Shoya angry. Shoya realized that it was all his fault, but the other does not mean innocent. He says there's no one innocent in this. Sahara, who ran away when she was in elementary school because she was afraid of being bullied and didn't come to school. Ueno, who bullied Shuko openly and started to ignore her. Kawaii, who only blames others and makes herself look innocent. Nagatsuka, who didn't know anything but pretended to take his side. And Mishiba, who was an outsider but pretended to get involved. After hearing Shoya's words, everyone starts to leave him and Shoya invites Shuko to go for a walk somewhere next week, but Shuko just gives him a sad look. The next day, Shoya meets Yuzuru at the bridge. Shoya sees Yuzuru crying because his beloved grandmother has passed away. Shoya and Shuko start spending time together during the summer holidays. Shoya tries to cheer up Shuko by being energetic so that Shuko can smile again and enjoy her life. One day, Shuko and Yuzuru invite Shoya to their house to make a birthday cake for Shuko and Yuzuru's mother. Shoya, who is still afraid of their mother, thinks, "Is it okay for me, who is hated, to even celebrate her birthday?" Shuko and Yuzuru then try to convince their mother to allow Shoya to join the birthday celebration. The next day, Shoya and Shuko's family go to a festival to watch the fireworks together. In the middle of the fireworks show, Shuko starts acting strange and leaves early. Yuzuru, who forgot to bring his camera, then asks Shoya to get it from their house. After arriving at Shuko's house, Shoya sees Shuko standing on the balcony of her house and wants to commit suicide. Shoya immediately runs towards Shuko to stop her. As Shoya successfully grabs Shuko's hand, Shoya pleads to God to give him strength and promises to open his heart to everyone and live a right life. Shoya successfully saves Shuko, but when pulling Shuko, Shoya loses balance and falls from the balcony. Shoya is immediately taken to the hospital and falls into a coma. The next day, Yuzuru and his mother came to apologize to Shoya's mother for the problems caused by Shuko that led to Shoya being in a coma. On the other hand, Ueno is shown hitting Shuko, angry about her actions that resulted in Shoya's coma. Shuko, who was hit, remained silent, knowing that it was her actions that caused the problem. Shuko's mother, seeing her daughter being hit, was not happy and fought back. Shoya's mother intervened to stop the fight. Shuko then approached Shoya's mother, bowed, and apologized while crying hysterically. At night, Yuzuru removed all the pictures of dead animals she had ever taken. The reason she always took pictures of dead animals and pasted them on the wall was to make her sister, Shuko, stop thinking about committing suicide because she was bullied in elementary school. The next day, Shuko went to the hospital to visit Shoya, but Ueno arrived first and chased her away. Nagatsuka, who saw this, tried to help Shuko open the door, but his efforts were not successful. Then Nagatsuka began to tell her that Shoya was the first person to teach him the meaning of friendship and that he wanted Shoya to wake up from his coma. Hearing this, Shuko was also determined to fix everything and began to meet with friends and explain her condition and what she was thinking so that everyone could understand her, and they all gathered back at the bridge as usual. At night, Shuko had a dream about Shoya leaving her and saying goodbye. When she woke up, she ran to the bridge in tears, thinking that Shoya had passed away and left her. At the same time, Shoya woke up from his sleep and tried to go to the bridge to meet with Shuko. Eventually, they met and Shuko felt as though she had only seen an illusion of Shoya, which made Shoya laugh. Shuko apologized to Shoya for making him have to be taken to the hospital. Then, Shoya and Shuko made a promise to help each other in living a better life. A few days later, Shoya recovered and returned home. Upon arriving home, Shoya and Ueno had a conversation, and Ueno said that Shimada and Hirose helped him when he fell, and Ueno still did not like Shuko in the end. Shoya also thanked Ueno for always visiting him in the hospital. Yuzuru, who had been waiting for Shoya in his room, then showed off that she had won a photography contest and also showed off her poor test results, so she asked Shoya to teach him. The next day, Shoya, who had promised God and Shuko to live a better life, begins to practice greeting his friends in the toilet. When he arrives at school, he still often bows his head because he is still unable to fully open his heart and make eye contact with his friends. Nagatsuka, who sees that Shoya is still alive, immediately hugs him and is grateful that his friend is still alive. Then, Kawi shows Shoya an origami bird made by his friends to cheer him up from his coma before. Shoya, touched by this, starts to open himself up. All the X marks on people's faces also disappear. Shoya cries with happiness because he has regained his friends and can open himself up to everyone. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos.